The Philadelphia Eagles became news once again, and it wasn't because of an official announcement, a confirmed signing, or a finalized decision. It was because of something much more unstable, more dangerous, and more revealing. A quiet move that may say more about the current state of the franchise than any press conference ever could. Because when a report starts circulating that the Eagles are trying to hire the offensive coordinator from another NFC playoff team, something immediately shifts in the atmosphere. The question stops being, who will be the new OC, and becomes something much deeper. How far is this franchise willing to go to fix this offense? And stay with me until the end, because the name involved in this story may seem low profile right now, but it carries implications far bigger than they appear on the surface. According to ESPN's Adam Schefter, the Eagles have requested permission to interview Declan Doyle, the current offensive coordinator of the Chicago Bears. A move that by itself is already unusual, but when you look at the context, it becomes far more symbolic. Doyle isn't an unemployed coordinator. Doyle isn't on a rebuilding team. Doyle isn't outside the playoffs. He's part of a coaching staff from a team that just finished an 11-win season, reached the NFC divisional round, and had its best year in over a decade. That completely changes the weight of this move. The Eagles are no longer just evaluating available candidates on the market. They're crossing into winning organizations. They're trying to pull pieces out of structures that are already functioning. And in the NFL, that never happens by accident. That kind of move happens when a franchise feels urgency, when it feels pressure, when it understands that the problem is deeper than it first appeared. The Eagles' offense didn't fail because of one game. It didn't fail because of one mistake. It didn't fail because of one technical detail. It failed structurally throughout the season. From week one, there were signs of a system that felt stiff, predictable, disconnected, and without a clear identity. Even with elite-level talent at almost every offensive position, the team never operated with fluidity. There was never consistent rhythm. There was never a sense of control. And it all collapsed in the worst possible way. A home playoff elimination against the San Francisco 49ers. The firing of Kevin Patullo was just the first visible consequence of something much larger. Now the search for a new offensive coordinator has become a race against time. And more than that, a race against internal loss of confidence. That's where Declan Doyle enters the picture. A young name, a non-media name, a name that doesn't dominate headlines, but one with a path that draws attention inside the league. Doyle began as a student assistant at the University of Iowa in 2016. In 2019, he was already in the NFL, working directly under Sean Payton with the New Orleans Saints. He later followed Payton to the Denver Broncos as a tight ends coach. And in 2025, he was hired by the Bears as offensive coordinator, becoming the youngest OC in the NFL. The following season, the Chicago Bears made a historic jump. From 5 wins and 12 losses to 11 wins and 6 losses, reaching the NFC divisional round for the first time since 2010. On paper, that looks impressive. But here's where the deeper analysis begins. Inside the league, it's widely understood that the real offensive architect in Chicago is head coach Ben Johnson. He designs the system, he runs the structure, he defines the identity. In that environment, Declan Doyle isn't the central figure. He's part of the machine. And that creates the most important question of all. Are the Eagles trying to hire an offensive mind? Or are they trying to hire someone moldable, someone young, someone adaptable, someone who can be integrated into a new philosophy, someone who doesn't arrive with a rigid system or a fixed identity? That changes the entire reading of this move. Maybe the Eagles aren't looking for a star. Maybe they're not looking for a big-name coordinator. Maybe they're looking for someone who can be shaped by the project, not someone who wants to control the project. And that reveals a deeper problem: how difficult it has become for the franchise to land a strong, proven offensive leader. Stable teams attract coordinators naturally. Teams with clear identity attract high-level candidates. Organized franchises don't have to scramble for interviews. When you see a team cycling through names, profiles, and approaches, it signals that the process isn't flowing. The Eagles have looked at Mike Kafka. They've looked at Brian Daboll. They've explored other options. Now they're moving toward Declan Doyle. That's not linear planning. That's open search mode. That's urgency. And the most symbolic part of all, the Eagles are the only team in the league that kept its head coach and still hasn't filled the offensive coordinator position. Everyone else has resolved it. Philadelphia hasn't. That alone is a warning sign. Because an offense can't enter the next season without structure. It can't go into the offseason without identity. It can't operate for months without direction while roster decisions, draft strategy, and contracts are being shaped. Every week without an OC creates system-wide delay. And then comes the most important factor, the quarterback. Without an OC, there is no system. Without a system, there is no clear evaluation of Jalen Hurts. Without evaluation, there is no future planning. Everything becomes suspended. Whoever the hire is, Declan Doyle or someone else, the next offensive coordinator won't just be a play caller. He'll be an identity builder, a system architect, a locker room manager, a structural organizer, and that may be exactly why the Eagles are looking young. Because youth brings flexibility. It brings adaptability. It brings less resistance to deep change. Veteran coordinators arrive with fixed systems, fixed philosophies, established identities. Young coordinators arrive to be shaped. That might be exactly what the franchise wants, but it's also a massive risk. Because when you bet on projection instead of proven leadership, you're betting on potential, not history. If it works, it looks brilliant. If it fails, it becomes another structural mistake. And the Eagles don't have room for mistakes anymore. The roster is expensive. The cap is tight. The margin for error is shrinking. Championship windows don't last forever. Every wrong decision now costs years. That's why this quiet move matters more than it seems. This isn't just about Declan Doyle. It isn't just about the Bears. It isn't just about an interview request. It's about the psychological state of the franchise. It's about an organization that feels pressure, that feels urgency, that feels time slipping. And when franchises enter that mode, decisions become more aggressive. If the Eagles truly move in this direction, it signals a new phase. Less stability, more risk, more boldness, more internal reconstruction than fans may realize. Because this isn't just about replacing a coordinator. It's about rebuilding the entire offensive identity. And that process has already started. With interviews, with quiet moves, with internal conversations, with silent strategy, with decisions that aren't public yet, but are already happening. Declan Doyle may not be the final name. He may not be the hire. He may never wear Eagles colors. But the fact that he's even in the conversation already says everything. The Eagles are no longer operating in comfort mode. They're in correction mode, urgency mode, structural rebuild mode. And that changes how the entire offseason should be read. Because the next offensive coordinator won't just call plays. He will define the future of the offense. Define the quarterback's development. Define how the stars are used. Define the championship window. This hire is bigger than it looks. And that's why this seemingly simple news story carries so much weight. Because when a franchise starts searching for solutions outside its own ecosystem, outside its comfort zone, outside its internal structure, it means something has already broken. And now the Philadelphia Eagles are trying to fix it before it becomes irreversible.